For quite some time, I've been wanting to share about a trip that I took which changed my life immensely, and that was when I traveled to Paris and Madrid for Christmas a few years ago. Now you could be wondering, why would I want to listen to someone else talk about what a great time they had on vacation? And that's fair, but I don't just want to talk about all the cool stuff I did. I want to dive a bit deeper and highlight a few key learning points that will hopefully illustrate why this changed my life so much. So, this is the story of the best experience of my life. It was my fourth year of college. I had been working for a few months and had saved up quite a bit, and I actually had just returned from France a few months before, so I felt like I had some unfinished business there. Paris is one of my favorite cities in the world, so I had no problem going back so soon. And as for Madrid, well, I had always wanted to visit Spain, so I thought this is my chance to do that. I had a 2-week break before classes started, so I thought, okay, cool, 10-day trip, 4 or 5 days in each city, Christmas in Paris, New Year in Madrid, perfect. I started planning about 6 months in advance. I had to arrange to get a Schengen visa to allow me to travel to Europe, and then there were the flights and then the accommodation. If you have a passport that pretty much requires you to get a visa to almost every country on earth, then you know the struggle. You know how not straightforward travel is. You have to make all your arrangements and bookings before in order to even apply for the visa. And even then, there's no guarantee that you will be approved for the visa. I've been blessed enough to do a fair bit of traveling in my life, but this was the first time that I was funding everything completely from my own pocket. And the first time I was traveling alone internationally for fun. So not including family or group trips or flying back and forth for college. But yeah, no family, no friends, no supervision. It was great. So my visa came out about 3 days before my trip, and once that was sorted, oh man, I was good to go. And everything just started to feel so real. I was like, wow, I actually planned all this by myself. If you've ever funded a big purchase entirely from your own pocket, then you understand how fulfilling it is to be able to do that. And I think this is the first lesson that I learned. Self-sufficiency is priceless. You are literally reaping the rewards of your efforts. And it breeds a new level of maturity, confidence, and discipline. And I think there's no better feeling. I also want to add that I'm so grateful to have even had the opportunity to do this. It's a huge privilege and one that I don't take for granted at all. I remember arriving in Paris on the first day of the trip, and I was just like, wow, I am actually free to do what I want. I had no plans, no itinerary, just vibes. So my strategy was, I'm not going to plan anything ahead of time on this trip. I'm just going to wake up and go with whatever I'm feeling that day. And I decided that I would walk everywhere, no matter how far, rain or shine, I was walking. I really wanted to soak in my environment and to be present in the moment. And for me, being able to experience the unique sights, smells, and sounds of foreign cities is always thrilling. And all this felt like a spiritual experience for me because I was so intentional about experiencing every little thing that I could consciously point out to myself. Paris was just as I remembered it, elegant, classy, just inspirational for me. Madrid, on the other hand, oh man, I had never been to Spain before, so I had no expectations. I was just there to take whatever I was hit with. And Madrid did not disappoint. It was a fantastic, fantastic city, and it's one of my favorites now. When you think about traveling in Europe, hostels come to mind. There are hundreds of hostels in every European city where mostly younger travelers stay, usually because they're constantly on the go. In Paris, I stayed at this hostel called Mige in one of my favorite parts of the city. It was like an old boutique style building, a lot of wooden architecture, very classy in a sense, very quiet and very orderly. And in Madrid, I stayed at this hostel called Mola in the heart of the city. It was the polar opposite of Mige. Very modern, very cool, hip scene for young people. And Mola actually takes a lot of extra time to arrange fun activities for younger people. For example, we had these bar crawls where you would go in a group to a bar every night whenever you wanted to and just party and chill. And there was this stylish lounge in the basement of Mola that had food and this music playlist that was just so ridiculously good. It almost seemed like the kind of hostel you stayed at determined the kind of people you would meet. Mola had more spontaneous, high-energy people compared to the quiet, calm people at Mij. That duality of both hostels for me was so refreshing because I like change and different styles. It was just so cool. On this trip, I loved the fact that I was able to eat so much good food. I got to see friends that I hadn't seen in many years, and I got to hang out with a lot of my good friends as well and make new ones and new connections also. I got to explore both cities as much as I could with the little time that I had, finally getting to visit places like the Louvre Museum in Paris and the Santiago Bernabeu in Madrid. Also, one thing I had always wanted to do was to experience Mass in Notre Dame. It's one of my favorite buildings ever. I'm always in awe whenever I step inside, and I wondered what Mass would be like. Well, I finally got to do that on Christmas Day, and it was just a magical experience. Being in that space on such a special day, it was perfect. So yeah, I spent Christmas Day in church in Paris, and I spent New Year's Day in a club in Madrid. Doesn't get better than that. Just kidding. But there was a mindset switch that came with having that level of freedom, which I knew I had to use responsibly. I had no worries, no apprehensions, just non-stop excitement. And all that positivity greatly contributed to the success of my trip and facilitated my own personal growth as well. It was a special trip, and just the fact that it was during the holiday season made it even more so. This was a time where I came into a new understanding of myself and of the world. Every single day, I was conscious of the fact that I was learning a lot and evolving as a result of that. So, one big thing that I learned from this trip is that I'm more adventurous when I'm traveling alone. And I believe that comes from me thinking, this is my own trip. It's up to me to make the most of it. No one else is going to do that. Everything rests in my control. Also, sometimes when traveling with family, friends, or a group of people, I think it's easy to get stuck just hanging out, not really doing a lot. And that's fine. But when I'm just not doing a lot by myself, then I get bored and it's a waste of time. So it forces me to step out of my comfort zone to explore and just make as much as I can out of a situation. And I think this just goes for life in general. It's up to you to make the most of your experiences and create your own happiness at the end of the day. Next thing I learned about myself is that I was much happier and could endure inconvenient situations even more than usual. For example, the day I went to the Louvre Museum in Paris, I spent 3 hours outside in line trying to get in winter weather while it was raining. I mean, who would want to do that? I could have chosen to come back another time. But I think that positive mindset was so ingrained in my brain that I was like, yeah, we can make the most out of this situation. So I used that time to just talk to other people in line, look around, really soak in what I was experiencing. And I'd never really forced myself to do something like that in such enormity, if that makes sense. Any situation I found myself in was an opportunity to learn something new. I also learned that I don't need much to experience true happiness. Walking, simple meals, friendly people gave me enough joy to sustain me throughout the trip. And yes, I had experienced this while traveling, but this isn't something you have to travel to experience. You can experience this anywhere, anytime. But I do have to add that certain environments or circumstances play a key role in revealing that to you. So I guess it just has to do with being in the right place at the right time. Lastly, my appreciation for the world grew. I reflected on how beautiful the world, its people, its cultures, its places can be. The world can be a really messed up, almost hopeless place at times, but there's good waiting for every one of us in certain experiences, places, and in certain people as well. So whatever you do, wherever you go, be kind to other people. Be genuine and be a good person. Do all you can to make sure you live a rewarding life. I mean, we're constantly reminded that life is short, but we also have to remember that there is a lot within our control to make sure we make the most out of life and it doesn't go to waste. I can't say enough how grateful I am to have been able to do this trip. It is hands down the best experience of my life, and I'm just really proud of myself for taking the initiative to do this. I'll always look back fondly on it, and it just makes me hungry for more travels when things get back to normal. If you made it this far in the video, you are the real MVP, because I know it's a lot of talking, and these kinds of videos aren't always the most exciting to make or to even watch, so I really appreciate it. But I hope it made some sense, and I hope it just encourages you to seize life's precious opportunities and to be present in every moment. Oh, I've talked a lot. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.